We are going to talk about breaking the rules, but I want to be careful. We're not suggesting you do anything immoral, unethical, or anything like that, because we are insurance folks, right? And we have ethics that we're supposed to keep. But what we're going to talk, though, about is maybe breaking the patterns of how sales has been done over the decades and centuries, because sometimes what's happening is our prospects kind of know our playbook. And we think we're being different, but we're frankly not being that different. So we like to see the pipeline as more like a FedEx man or woman. A FedEx person has an important job, don't they? They carry a lot of packages every day. But imagine if the FedEx person just said, I'm not going to deliver these today, I'm going to hold on to them. They get fired, right? So we want you to think of your sales pipeline as more like the FedEx man. They shouldn't be in there very long. So in general, if you have anywhere between 5 and 7, that's a better number. Not 33, not 83, not 26, not 18, because chances are most of those shouldn't even be in there. And what causes them to be in there is because they have not told you no. So the reason that think it overs are there's two reasons. One is you're not prospecting enough because you think you've got something going on when in essence you don't have anything going on. But the other issue, which is the captain obvious, is you're spending time with people that just frankly aren't going to work with you. So think about when you were 18 years old and you had the whole life ahead of you. Who said, I am going to be a salesman or woman someday? Raise your hand. There's probably a couple in here. Statistically, it's about 10 to 15%. So the rest of us have a story. And it probably wasn't planned. It picked you, right? But how many of you can honestly say that you've never, ever lied to a salesperson about anything before? And this is where you raise your hand if that's happened. You have? Just looking, okay. Just looking, or tell them I just left, or tell them I'm in a meeting, or I'm not interested, but you really are, but you just didn't want to talk to them about it. We'll do the Midwest nice here, and we'll just call it mistruth. But oftentimes, it's because we want to protect ourselves. Does anybody remember the game show Password? I think you have to be at least 40. Anyway, what would happen, it was the old box, and you had to guess the word, and whoever guessed it quickest won. And so they would put up a word, and then you had to give clues, right, back and forth, to the person across from you. So if the word would have been... What would the clues have been? Used car. Pushy. What was the other one?
I said insurance.
Insurance. Okay. Keep going. It slithers on the ground. Snake oil. The one I've only heard once, and this was a Southern boy, was bottom feeder. I personally believe fact finders are hurting all of you more than helping you. I'm going to draw a line in the sand. And I've had insurance folks say, but Dan, they always give me the answers. I go, I bet they do. How much of it's the truth? I mean, think about it. My spouse might be sitting next to me while you're doing this, and she doesn't even know this stuff. And you think I'm going to give it to you in the first 10 minutes? I mean, come on. Here's the other thing. All your competition does it. They are up to their necks in fact finders. Has anybody actually said, you know what, here's the other companies, just use this? Has it ever happened? Stop doing the fact finders. Let's keep going. The steal part is they will let you run your mouth for an hour because the payoff is, and this is something, my dad's a farmer, and he always said, Dan, and this is so true, if you talk long enough, it'll happen today, I guarantee it, you will say something that you shouldn't have said. He's right. Well, if I'm on an hour sales call and I'm doing all the talking, I'm probably going to say something I shouldn't have said. I'm not saying inappropriate, but because I'm talking so much, I'm giving away some information that's valuable. What is valuable that you talk about every day that they may not want to pay for, but they should be paying for? Examples? What? Advice. What else? How can that be used against you? Price. Give it to Mike.
You put the emphasis on price. I mean, you.
Right. Well, a lot of us, I mean, let's face it, historically in insurance, and I can say this, proposal was king. You just do enough proposals, Dan, you'll be successful in this business. I agree with that to some extent. Now, sometimes we get hired. How do they hide? How do you hide?
Think it over.
Think it over. Like, call me back in 30 days. Who's getting the I'm so busy right now? Okay, stop accepting that as an excuse. Okay, is there anybody here that's not busy? Raise your hand. That is not a legitimate reason not to be talking. But the people that are most susceptible to outright solving are people in their first year and after 10 years. Why would someone in their first year be susceptible to that?
They don't get caught up with all the minutiae.
And they want to be perceived as knowledgeable, even when they're not. So if I Quick Gun McGraw give you all kinds of good information, you're going to think I'm pretty smart. Why would someone after 10 years, having done it for 10 years, be susceptible?
Know all the answers.
Know all the answers. Instant recall. Don't even have to go back to the office and look it up. Don't even have to research it. Intuition. And I forget that it's valuable. And sometimes it's, I'm chasing them, coming on too strong, and they're hiding, but sometimes they're hiding and I start to chase them. And if you've ever had to utter these words on a voicemail, I don't want you to think I'm stalking you. It's already happening. If you're thinking it, they're thinking it. So it's already happening. Okay? It's things about the words you use. It's things about how loud you talk, how soft you talk. I'm not suggesting you be a chameleon, but I am suggesting that if you seek to understand who you're in front of, you will have a better chance of doing business with them. I am not talking about being their friend. I'm talking about them feeling like you get them, not friendship. If it becomes friendship, that's great. But most of us, let's face it, we can't be friends with all these people, can we? I'm having trouble just being friends with the people I really want to be friends with, let alone everybody I meet. It's unrealistic. And it's patronizing and everybody else tries to do it. Some of you are large and in charge people. You're used to running companies. Here's the thing. None of your prospects work for you. They don't have to put up with your large and in charge stuff. In fact, what they'll do is they'll just avoid you. So instead, since some of you say, here's what we're going to talk about, here's the agenda. I always do agenda for every meeting, Dan, because I'm a leader and I do this. I always like to say, but where's the prospect fit into that agenda? So it needs to be the prospect's agenda, not yours. Okay, another note to self. At best, 33% of the population buys like you. So if that's the way you're operating, you're alienating 67% of the people. But you can feel really good about yourself that you are doing the golden rule, but we're not talking about the golden rule here. We're talking the platinum rule. You need to understand them, not them get you. It is not about us anymore. If it's about you, money's laying on the table. Husbands and wives, there's always one that gets to pull the trigger. And the other one's an influencer. And I don't know how it works in your home, but in our home, we talk about that up front. Who's ever most equipped to make that decision pulls the trigger. Not me all the time, not her all the time. Whoever's most equipped to make that decision pulls the trigger. The other one is an influencer. These three are our qualify steps in breaking the rules. A proposal has not happened yet, a presentation has not happened yet, a webinar has not happened yet, no outright solving has been happening yet, and we can abort this process at any time. So if there's not a reason to buy, then I'm not going back and getting a proposal, and I'm not going to do a presentation, and I'm not going to do a webinar. They have to know, money's rarely the issue. The value is what's missing. They don't know how to assimilate it. All right, well, listen, you guys have been a great group. I can stick around a little bit afterwards. Anybody has any questions? But otherwise, thank you so much.